Okay, we're in chapter 13 of Revelation. You weren't here last week. We got the second member of the Trinity was installed. And what is his official title? First one was the Antichrist. The second one was
The beast.
the beast. Beast was the first one. And the Antichrist came out of the beast. That was those 10 nations that became 7. False prophet. This guy, the first guy, is a political leader. The second guy is a religious leader. And look at some of the things that he will do. He will point to the fatal wound on the false prophet head, and he'll relate him to Jesus. Look at the wound. He'll be dead for 3 days, and then he'll resurrect. You say, yes, Jesus returned. He's dead for 3 days. He resurrected. Look at the wound. Jesus has come back, and he'll be a man of peace. And Jesus, one of Jesus's titles is Prince of Peace. And he'll mix all that together, and he'll point to this guy, and people will chase after him like crazy. And this guy will engineer a peace treaty between Israel and their neighbors, and be given permission to rebuild the temple. And he'll look at him and say, he's got to be the Prince of Peace. They've been fighting over there for 4,000 years. This guy comes back, everybody starts getting along. It's got to be Jesus. And it's not. He'll also create this big statue. And if you remember back in the Old Testament, there was a big statue of one of the Babylonian kings. And the Holy Spirit would come in at night and knock it down, and they'd come in the next day and stand it back up. The Holy Spirit would come in and knock, or an angel, and knock it down, and the next morning they'd stand it back up. And the prophet comes along, I think it was Isaiah or Jeremiah, they come along and said, your God can't even stand up, much less take care of you. It's our God that's knocking him down. And they put guards on him, and he still knocked him down, and they had to set him back up the next day. But people will chase after this statue because it's going to actually speak. This statue is going to actually speak because the devil will empower it. If you're looking at verse 15, he was given power to give breath to the image of the first beast so that it could speak and cause all who refuse to worship the image to be killed. So if we don't take the stand of Daniel, remember Daniel? They said worship the king for 30 days, and Daniel said, not only am I not going to worship you for 30 days, I'm not going to hide in the closet either. And he opened the front door, or the shutters of his picture window that opened onto the main street in town, got down on his knees, faced the east, and prayed to God. And they arrested him and threw him in the lion's den, and he had a few bonding moments with the lions, and he came out, and the lions ate the other priests. You know that during the persecutions in Rome, most of the time, the lions or the bears or whatever wouldn't touch the Christians that were in the Colosseum. The gladiators had to go down and kill them. Pretty amazing, huh? Lions are smarter than most heathens.
Yeah, amen.
He was forced, everyone great and small, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their forehead so that no one could buy and sell unless he had the mark. Why either or? Why not, if you don't have a right hand, we'll put it on the left hand? Why is it forehead and right hand? One or the other. You can have one.
Because the left hand is impure to the left hand is impure to the Muslims.
Very nice answer. If you're over in the Middle East and you hand somebody something with your left hand, or you serve tables with your left hand, that is a supreme insult, and you can be killed for it. You know what? This is a little gross.
I know why, but I'm not saying that. They don't use toilet
Over there, they
paper.
don't have trees, and they don't have, paper is a really premium thing, and so they don't have toilet paper. So, when they get done using the restroom, they have bidets or bowls of water, and they squat down over the water and use their left hand to cleanse themselves. So if you offer somebody something with your left hand, it is a supreme insult.
That email you sent with the handshake, was it the Mexican president and
Yeah.
who else was it? And Obama wasn't.
It was Obama and the Mexican president. And
somebody else.
who was the other guy?
I can't remember.
There were 3 people on stage. Obama and Mexico. Well, anyway, Obama shook hands with the guy in the middle with his right hand. The guy in the middle shook hands with the Mexican president with his left hand. So he's kind of like this. And the Mexican president reached out to shake hands with Obama, and it would have had to have been a left-right handshake. And Obama would not extend his left hand to shake hands with the guy, because that would be a supreme insult. But only if you're Muslim. Duh.
Well, wow.
So anyway, yeah, that was interesting. Now, it says that this will be a mark or a graphic. It will be a number, and it will be a name. Okay? So, here's an example. Everybody got this? Told you to not throw one. Anybody need one?
We don't have one.
You got one?
We don't have one.
Now, it's talking about buying and selling here. And it says that you will not be able to buy and sell anything without the mark. The mark already exists for buying and selling. It's called barcode. It's on everything that is sold. Now, if you look at the number just to the right of the center, you'll see the number 6. You guys need one? You got one?
We got one.
You see the number 6. Now notice the number 6 is narrow line, narrow space, narrow line. See that? And I highlighted the 6 all the way down. See that? Okay. Now, there's also 3 orientation lines. And the orientation lines are so that the computer eye will know which is the bottom of the barcode. And if it knows which is the bottom of the barcode, it knows which is the left and which is the right. Okay? And it has been programmed to scan barcode left to right. And if it scans the barcode left to right, then you pay for a box of Pillsbury Hot Roll Mix, which is what this is. Pillsbury Hot Roll Mix. And it'll cost you $2.87 at JC's. It's a quarter cheaper at Walmart.
Yeah, but I'm gonna spend $50 extra in there.
Yeah.
So, you've got this, it scans from left to right rather than scanning from right to left and charging you for an $80,000 Mercedes Benz. It'll get the right number because it'll scan it. Now notice those extension lines at the bottom. Narrow line, narrow space, narrow line. Go to the middle. Narrow line, narrow space, narrow line. Go to the right side. Narrow line, narrow space, narrow line. And what did I say narrow line, narrow space, narrow line was? 6. A 6. So what do we got on the barcode? 6, 6, 6. It is the number of that item. It is the number of, it is the name of an object, Pillsbury Hot Roll Mix. And it is a graphic or a barcode. in addition to the number at the bottom. It's a graphic remark. So, are you sinning if you go to Walmart and buy a box of Pillsbury hot roll mix? There are a lot of people preaching that. It's not true. Because what does it say here? It says you'll be forced to take it upon your person. To either have it on my right hand or to have it on my forehead. Can't go on my left hand because it'll offend people. And we wouldn't want to offend anybody.
Yeah, but no.
So, it's going to be something very similar to this. I took my pup over to the vet last week, and I told her the sad story of Rascal the Wonder Dog. And she said, chips are on sale in September for $18, and my new dog has a chip. And that will probably be similar to what this will be. It'll be a chip that will emit a number. So I asked her, I said, is this a GPS thing? So, I call up and they'll tell me, is it the neighbor's house or whatever? And she said, no, but if they take him to the pound or if he ends up in the vet, they can scan him and the number will pop up and they'll call this number and they'll call this telephone number and they'll give them that number and they will be able to tell them who I am, what my address is, what my phone number is, and they can contact me to come get the dog. Okay? So, it's already in the works. My dog's walking around with one. He wasn't required to take it. It wasn't a form of worship. Notice that the false prophet is engineering this and forcing you to worship the statue of the Antichrist. Okay? Now, at that point in time, when they say you have to have this and you have to worship the statue of the Antichrist, you better be ready to take care of yourself, because from that point on, you will not be able to buy and sell anything. But the deal is, we've been warned, haven't we? How long could you live starting today if you could no longer buy and sell anything? How many fruit jars are in the basement? How many,
I'd go into a panic and eat it all.
Snapping at anybody else's voice.
I'd be sitting in the pantry.
All right. Remember the story of Joseph now? And there was the 3 fat cows and the 3 lean cows and the 3 fat corn stalks and the 3 scrawny corn stalks. And so Joseph stored up food for 7 years in order to take care of the 7 years of trouble that was to come. Well, do you think that was just in there so we could teach kids Sunday school class lessons? Or was it to show us what we're supposed to do, how we're supposed to do things? I honestly believe that if it happened tomorrow, I could live for 5 years and never leave the house.
And we all move in and still live for 5 years.
And I believe,
After you eat your
Hey,
favorite.
is that enough provisions for all of us? or-
I believe that will happen, but it will happen with respect to new Christians that find Christ during this time of trouble. We know the truth, and we are to be prepared. And what do you think my obligation is to you if you have 5 or 10 or 15 acres of land and you don't have a garden?
We have acorns, you can have those.
Hmm?
Our 1 acre has tons of acorns, you can have those.
Now, I think there will be a lot of bartering going on. One person, Zach will be good at fixing electronics and keeping my lawnmower going, and I should be willing to compensate him in some way. I'm not going to have money, so I'm going to give him
I already
tomato
don't have
juice,
money.
and canned corn, and canned beef stew. A lot of times when the store at Celestine has sale on round steak, and sometimes they have sale on round steak for $2 a pound, $1.99 a pound. I'll take it home and put some seasoning in it and can it, pressure can it. Now steak is probably the worst cut on the beef. It doesn't have very much fat in it. It's usually tough, and it's almost always dry. But if you can it with spices and pressure cook it, it becomes very, very tender and very, very moist, and it's as good as a lot of other cuts on the beef.
Okay, so you're gonna teach us to do that next week? Let's have a class. We said that.
Yeah, I really think some night we ought to get together instead of watching the DVD, can something, maybe plan it next summer. And everybody bring in what green beans they have and a dozen fruit jars. And we'll go out in the pavilion, we'll break them all, we'll wash them all, we'll put them in cans, we'll can them.
That sounds.
And everybody
I
goes
love it.
home, everybody goes home.
I'd like to do meat too.
That's what I was gonna
I've
say.
never canned meat. I'd love to can
November,
meat.
in November, I'd like
It's
to
not
see how
that
to
hard.
process a deer.
I'm sure it ain't. I still like to
In
see it done
November, we
first.
could
I
process a
can
deer
all
and
sausage
can it.
and stuff.
Yeah, we can
Oh,
process
yeah.
the deer and
Yeah.
can it. There's a lot of things that we can do to get ready for this. And, you know, last year, I know I threw 100 quarts of green beans into the compost pile after I canned 100 quarts and give away bunches of them. And they just went in the compost pile. A couple of us could have the green beans, we could pick them all, bring them, everybody would break them, everybody would tip them, everybody would wash them, and you bring your dozen fruit jars, I'll bring mine, we'll fill them up, we'll can them, sit around, laugh, and have a good day, and you learn how to can. We could do the same thing with a beef sale somewhere. Get beef, it's not necessarily great to eat, you can get it cheap. We can can it, and it'll raise the quality of it, and there'll be beef in the basement. We need to do that because we know the truth and we are expected to be prepared. And if we just let our yards grow up and let our property, put it in hay and whatever, and don't do anything to take care of tomorrow after we've been warned that this is going to happen, I'm not sure what my obligation would be to that person. Now, the person that didn't know and accepted Christ after this all gets going, we need to be compassionate to them. We need to bring them in. We need to have potluck suppers for 100 people, pray over it. God will multiply it like he did on the side of the mountain. And we'll be dipping food out of the same pot all day long, and everybody will take home leftovers. I've actually seen that happen, but I've told you about that one.
I got a question for you, Bill.
Yeah.
We were down at the flea market in Louisville last year, Monster Drink. That Monster Drink, there was a lady down there had a booth set up. And she was saying that the Monster Drink was
Yeah. I saw that came through. I have been, every time I walk past a Monster thing on the aisle, I pick it up to see if any of those words are on it. I haven't found one yet.
What words does it say?
Oh, it said that it was great for, and they used a lot of sexual terms, that like it was a favorite drink of MILFs
the, I think so.
and
Something
all kind of
satanic
things.
about
Oh, my.
Well, that was the mark on
Yeah.
how they had the 3 lines, they were trying to say it was 666.
Yeah, and there
But they're
was
solid lines.
They showed a 6 on it and whatever. I have looked and looked for that. I don't know if that was a special, maybe they did a special processing for the pornographic convention in New Orleans.
Bonnie?
I didn't see any there.
I'm not sure.
I knew that was coming.
But I got it.
apologize.
I think Zach sent it to me.
Yeah, I
and-
tagged you in it because I wanted you to research it.
And I have looked every time I pass a monster display, I look at every kind of monster on there, and I've never found one that was that way. But it was on she showed it to you on the video on the computer. I don't know where she got it. I don't know what was going on, why they did that. The words were on there. But I haven't been able to find it. maybe that was 15 years ago, and they got a kickback, and so they took them off.
Years
Maybe
ago.
it used to be that way, but now it isn't. But whatever was going on, it was on there, but it's not on there anymore. I can't find it exactly.
Well, it's not good for us, so we shouldn't drink it anyway.
Exactly.
What?
It's not good for you, so we shouldn't drink it anyway.
I don't like Monster anyway, so it wouldn't matter. All right, what else is going on here? Well, you're not gonna be able to buy and sell, so how are you gonna pay your bills? Anybody got a clue?
Can't do that now. I don't see it being much different.
Number one,
No one take
you need
April.
you need to get your property covered, which means every time you possibly can, add $100 onto your mortgage payment. Get payments ahead. Now, I don't know if you know anything about government or not. I worked for the government for 42 years, and nothing ever takes effect on time, ever. Now, this is going to happen at the 3.5-year mark, so you don't have to worry about 7 years, you just have to worry about 3.5 years. Okay, so if you can get your property paid ahead for like the best you can, as far as you can, you get it paid ahead, well then you can miss payments for that period of time and you won't be delinquent. Okay? Now, after you become delinquent, it takes them about 6 months to foreclose on you, and then it will take them 3 months to get you in court, and another 3 months to evict you. But don't use that as a license to steal. You need to get ahead of the game, and you need to get ahead of the game as quick as you possibly can. So start adding $20 onto your mortgage payment or $50 onto your mortgage payment. Do what you can, and God will bless. Personally, I would say a very good thing to do is to, how many of you use bill pay or use your computer to pay your bills? See, when you do that, they can't see you. They don't see your mark, they don't see your hand. You don't have to buy stamps at the post office. You can become a hermit, and they're going to be chasing around looking for people. They're going to be busy trying to get everybody stamped. And what do you think the chances are 7 billion people are going to get their chip the day he announces this? It'll take the government 2 years to get half of this done. So we'll just quietly be in the background praising the Lord and doing our thing and evangelizing the world. And there'll be a period of time there where they'll be busy doing the people who are in line, and then they'll stop and they'll suddenly decide, we better check and see if everybody's got this because nobody else is in line now. And then they'll start looking for us. So there's going to be a period of time there. I mean, they're not going to be able to chip everybody, 7 billion people, in a week or a year.
2 years to get it and another 3 years to make it work correctly too.
Yeah. Then there's going to be, you've heard of Obamacare.
Sure, a little bit.
Well, they're enforcing Obamacare now. If you don't have health insurance, they're going to fine you. Anybody do your own taxes? Okay. Last year, there was a question on the tax software, right? And it said, how many consecutive months this year did you have insurance? And you choose an option, like 12. Okay? How did they verify that?
I can't.
Huh?
Can they?
You had to send in your form.
Yeah, but did you have to put your policy number on it? No. Did you have to tell them who your insurance company was?
And as a preparer,
No.
you didn't have to have proof either. We asked them, and they said, yeah, I had it, so we backed it.
So you put a check mark in the box and you're covered.
Isn't that lying
And it
though?
wasn't my, it wasn't mine. It
They
was
don't
my
verify
first.
anything. They don't have my policy number. They don't know who
Why
my
didn't I
insurance
just say
company.
12?
You did
Because you're honest.
check 12 and go on about your business. And they say, thank you very much, and take your word for it. That's the way the government works. They can't verify. They can't verify 300 million people. right off the bat, right? You should just be quiet, walk along, smile and be Christian. Don't worry about it until somebody knocks on your door and says, let me see your hand. That might be a bad day. But if you look at the way governments work, I don't have much faith that the government is going to be on my back on day one. So why are we worried about it? And even if they do get on my back on day one, the Lions don't want to taste of me either. You know, they're going to have trouble persecuting us. Everybody says, oh no. Hey, it's going to be fun to be sitting in there petting the lions while everybody says, why are they eating? I kind of like lions, they're pretty cool. Another thing, you know, some things you have to be in person to get, right? Like gasoline. You gotta go to the gas station and you gotta fill up your tank and show them your charge card or go to the cash register. And what are you gonna do about that? Are we all gonna just stay at home and not drive our cars?
Siphon hose in the neighbor. Siphon hose in the neighbor.
Have you noticed the number of gas stations now that you can fill up 24 hours, but they're only open for like 12 or 14 hours? You just drive up, stick your charge card in, fill up, it's the middle of the night, nobody's around, your charge card is charged, you put it back in your pocket. We'll just fill up our cars at 4 o'clock in the morning. Nobody's around to look at us and check our mark and check it. You know, God is already setting the stage for us to be exempt. If we listen and if we think and if we do the things that we know are smart to do. But if we don't, you know, if I have always been a pretty decent gardener, but I have never had gardens like I've had the last 3 or 4 years. I got 12-foot tomato plants this year, and they're still hanging full of tomatoes.
And I've been very thankful for that after my incident.
And if you want some more,
I want some more,
I got
yes.
buckets full. And I've been canning mine, and I've been eating them, and you've been eating them, and they're hanging full. And you know, I'm not doing anything different, but everything is going so much better than it's ever gone before. And I gotta say that God's hand has to be in it. But He does expect me to drop the seeds in the ground. He does expect me to pull a few weeds. And He does expect me to can them when the harvest comes in. And He doesn't expect me to sit around waiting for somebody to feed me when it hits the fan. He expects me to be ready and be able to feed somebody else when it hits the fan. Right now, I could go 5 years and not can another thing, and yet every year I feel the urgency to fill up more fruit jars and more fruit jars. And I really think that God is preparing the way for us to be totally victorious. Every day of this, we will walk through it and seemingly pretty much not be touched. And the rest of the world is going to be suffering and trouble, and we're going to be victorious. Unless we make the preacher mad and then get him.